I'm Daniel. I've been a wood flooring contractor for a lot of years. Part of my job is to look at and solve wood flooring problems. So this is me reacting to online posts about wood flooring issues. I'm just moving into a rental. The floor looks like this in some places. Is there some material that I could pour into the gap just to fill the hole so it's smooth to walk on? The first thing you need to pour in there is termite killer, because that is termite damage right there. Yeah, that's termite damage. That's termite damage. That's definitely termite damage. Anytime you have termite damage, probably call an exterminator first. They need to figure out if it's active termites or if, like, you know, the nest is done and spent, and you need to get rid of the termites or else you're gonna continue to get damage. And what you're seeing there is just like the top surface damage. What you might have in the event of termites that's worse than just damage to the flooring is like damage to the structure underneath that's actually holding up your floor. My brother-in-law moved into a house, and like one whole side corner of the house, the floor was bouncing up and down like a trampoline, and we pulled the floor out and we went down underneath, and sure enough, like the last 4 joists of the house had been completely eaten out by termites. There's like a joist that went across the house and it didn't even connect to the concrete stem wall on the other side of the house. And the only thing that was holding it up was the structure of the subfloor, wood subfloor and wood flooring above it that was like kind of holding on to itself and bouncing like a trampoline. So unless they've had the termites dealt with, they're still eating the house from under and around you. Yeah, possibly. I mean, some nests are active and some aren't. Yeah, no, this is bad termite damage. The entire structure may be compromised. Yep. Wait, did he say, notify your local authorities that the building may be unsafe? Okay. I wouldn't go to the authorities, I go to a exterminator first. Anytime you see, yeah, just termites are the main thing. They make those little like channels, and then they turn wood into like powdery dust. So, and if you don't know what you're dealing with, Reddit seems to be on top of this one. Next one, worst hardwood floor refinish job ever. Let's see these pictures. Oh my gosh, wow. I don't think I could stain a floor like that if I were hired to try. Oh my gosh, that looks wet. Okay, so this is a floor that my 2.5-year-old son did when he found my stain cans in the garage. So I looked at this community, have a chance to share my hardwood floor refinishing horror story. I happened upon this professional in quotes, good use of quotation marks there. When I left a large old wooden table out on the curb, some professional took the table but was considerate enough to leave a business card on my front door with a message written on the back that if my table was not meant to be given away, to call him and he'd return it. I sent him a message that my intent was to give the table away and he could keep it. He responded by thanking me and telling me that he had a furniture restoration business and was going to strip it down and refinish it. Considering his business card was for an interior remodeling business and he had refinished wooden furniture, I inquired about his experience with hardwood floors. I had to just repaint my dining room. He told me that was his specialty, and then I asked him to come take a look at mine. He came for an estimate and we agreed to something like $1,100 to sand prep, stain the floor, doorways, and baseboards. Turned out we had a mutual friend. He also lives 3 blocks away, so I chose to hire him without any additional background research into his business reputation. Yes, I'm an idiot. Awesome, the homeowner's actually taking responsibility for their part, which is somebody showed up and grabbed a free piece of furniture, and then you started inquiring about their expertise with hardwood floor. So the guy insisted on full payment up front. Considering I was purchasing all the materials myself, I declined and told him I'd pay 30% after 1 day of work and the rest upon completion. He agreed because I seem like a good person. Good and wise are 2 different things. The first concern when he showed was that he didn't have a floor sander. The guy literally showed up with a 5-inch palm sander and nothing else. I told him that I would run to Home Depot and rent one on my time. And he told me that, no, my room was too small for that, and he knew what he was doing. So if somebody shows up without a sander, then don't go offer to rent one for them. Anyways, after 2 short days, 2 hours each of palm sanding, he came back to apply the stain. Wow. 4 hours of palm sanding. I'm assuming this is one room. Complete and utter disaster. He left it to dry, and after ghosting me for 3 days, he called and immediately started being combative. I told him it wasn't drying and that that it appears the floor hadn't been prepped properly. He told me there's nothing wrong with the work he did and that you're just one of those people who will never be happy with anything. When the correct response should have been, hey look, you went and rented me the sander at Home Depot. I described what it all looked like and he insisted that I don't know crap about floors and he's done hundreds of them and that I was the problem, not him. I'm feeling like hundreds may be an exaggeration. I told him I wanted the entire thing stripped, sanded, and properly prepared. He said there's no reason to do that as the work he did is perfectly fine. He told me he should never have done business with me because he could tell I was dishonest when I wouldn't pay 100% up front. There seems to be some gaslighting here. I did give him $300 for the first day, and I think once it went up his nose, he wasn't interested in doing any more work. So for the experts here, did this guy do a great job like he's telling me? Wow. Homeowner, despite the many things that were red flags and that you could have done a little bit better, you are correct. This is not a great flooring job. But my guess is this guy picks up furniture off of the curb and he refinishes furniture, which is actually a great business. You can make some old dingy furniture look pretty dang good. One type of wood product is not necessarily the same to work on as another type of wood product. Furniture is going to be different from wood floors. The main difference between furniture and wood floors, at least in terms of staining and finishing, is size. When it comes to staining a floor, you have a lot more surface area to cover than furniture. It's pretty easy with a table like this big, wipe stain all over it, and then wipe the stain off and have a pretty consistent stain color. Once you get to a hardwood floor, you're wiping sections and then wiping off, and that presents a whole new level of complexity for hardwood floor staining. If you assume it is the same as smaller things that you can stain all at once, then you're probably gonna end up with a finished product that looks like this. Who knows what type of stain the guy used? Probably an oil-based stain because the homeowner said it was days until it dried. My dad was a furniture maker, so I've made furniture for my house. I've made furniture with him. It is worlds easier to stain. It can be harder to coat, like finish on. It's easier to coat flooring. It's just a big area. The homeowner's mostly lucky that this guy did not burn their house down by leaving the stain rags out back. Let's take a look at the comments. Hello, you really need to ask. I've been sanding floors for 40 years. There's no way in hell he a floor man, and I believe you know that. That's right. I think the homeowner's just kind of looking for a little bit of validation. This could be the worst stain job I've ever seen. Sorry it happened to you. Yeah, I agree. Probably the worst I've ever seen. The guy is clearly a nut job. Thank God you didn't pay up front. It's gonna be hard to sand off though for the next guy that comes in. All that wet stain. Talk about gummy sandpaper and gummy sawdust, and keep a fire extinguisher nearby. God only knows what he has done to that poor table. Oh, that's true. That's true. You should at least ask for your table back. Take your table back and take it to therapy. When he said the palm sander was okay, you should have said goodbye. Yeah, and when he said the palm sander was okay, you definitely should not have said, let me go rent you a professional machine. Horrendous, I can't even imagine showing up to a job without my 10-inch sander, let alone doing a whole floor with a palm sander. Wow. What a clown. He didn't even put coats of finish on it after staining it. Palm sander did not remove much of the previous finish, merely smeared it around, hence all the blotches and lack of curing. I'm just a welder, and having refinished a total of 3 floors before, even I know that's wrong. Wow, you've got welders hating on this guy. I don't even do hardwood floors. Yeah, I'm not an expert, but I'm sure you know as well as anyone in the right logical mind that this is a top-level terrible work. He's the final boss of shitty work. You only defeat him if you get him back to do it all over again and do it right. But when you invite him back, the music in your house changes to a pretty ominous tone. If you're a homeowner and something seems off about the contractor that you're getting, like the person doesn't have their own equipment, doing things in a way that's really weird. I mean, there's a fine line between nitpicking contractors and just seeing like, oh, this person has a process. Like somebody who's done a lot of floors should look like they know what they're doing when they show up to a house. Something seems off, probably should take a double take of what's going on there. This kind of a job is gonna be really sucky to go back and correct, and it's actually gonna take more work now than before you hired the guy. That's gonna be a disaster to sand. It's gonna gum up sandpaper. It's gonna be potentially flammable. Probably my vacuum system would get gummed up doing that. And I gotta constantly be checking my vacuum to make sure it's not on fire. So don't hire the table guy. Let's go to the next post. Cars floating engineered hardwood floor install on concrete leveled by installer with CARES underlayment. Ooh, this is a video. Okay. I'm not sure what the homeowner's complaint is on that, but I am guessing part of it is the noise maybe? But the bigger thing that I see going on with this video is there is a lot of like flex in the subfloor. So this is a floating floor, which means it is attached to itself, but not glued like to the subfloor, or hopefully not connected to any other part of the structure. So it's just like a big sheet of floor, essentially, once it's installed, that's sitting on the subfloor that just floats and shifts around a little bit. Floating floors tend to have a little bit more noise in them. They feel a little less solid because they're oftentimes over an underlayment, and so you get a little bit more of a thunk, thunk, thunk as you walk across them. That's pretty normal. There is a lot of flex in that floor. As they walk across, it's like bouncing, and it almost looks like the floor has got a slight bubble across it. What is probably going on there, the wood has expanded, and there was not enough expansion space at the walls. It's expanded sideways and it's hit walls, and now since it's unable to go sideways, the back pressure into the floor is starting to pick it up off the subfloor. And as you walk across, you're literally walking on a bubble. The technical term for that is buckling. Anytime a floor is coming up off the subfloor, which I think it's buckling in the case of a floating floor. Let's see. Oh, Reddit, those sandals are terrible, floor is fine. Oh, at least the OP agrees. It's a floating floor. Should have done glue down. Nope, floating floors are fine. I'm sitting on a floating floor right now. Just gotta do them correctly. Agreed, engineered wood has no business floating over concrete. Again, I'm sitting on a floating floor, glued over concrete, and it's pretty good floor. So you can float a lot of floors over concrete. Manufacturers have specs for their products to float. So nothing wrong with floating a floor, you just gotta do it correctly. What sort of padding did they put down? If any, should not move that much unless it's pinched from being installed too tight and is bowed up, or your concrete is some of the worst I've seen. Yeah, I think this guy's onto it. I think the floor is bowed up, it's buckling a little bit. They say they use CARES underlayment that is required by the manufacturer for the warranty. Yep, a lot of manufacturers spec the underlayment they want used, us included. The floor is not like this everywhere, but in this spot that he's walking on, it feels like walking on a waterbed. So yeah, I think the root problem is just all the bounce in the floor. So I think it's just the floor is expanded, it's hit a wall, and now the back pressure is causing it to buckle up off the subfloor. It bows and cracks a lot because the subfloor is uneven. Is that okay? I mean, it could be that the subfloor is uneven, like you may have a big trough and the floor is flexing down into that trough. That is another possibility. It looks to me like it's more bowed and picked up, but yeah, you could have a big trough. The cracking is probably not because of the subfloor. The floor is probably cracking because it's, my guess is tongue and groove glued. The tongue is grooved in, or glued into the groove. As you're flexing it, it has a little bit of this going on in the tongue and groove, and so you're getting like a cracking sound as that glue is kind of breaking and the tongue is moving. Concrete is out of CARES spec for flatness, 1/8 of an inch over 8 feet. Again, it could be a subfloor out of flat. Usually if the floor is running this way and you have a valley, the side joints will actually, as you're installing, allow the floor to kind of flex down into that valley and then come back up. I do tend to think it's more that back pressure that's actually picking the floor up off the subfloor. Hopefully it will lay down for you over time. Maybe, depends on the seasons when this is happening. It could be like middle of summer, the most moist time of the year, the floor is expanded and you're gonna go into winter and it's gonna contract. What you can oftentimes do with these floors, if it is tight against a wall or something, is you can go in and you can just recut a little bit of expansion and then the floor will lay down. So you can actually run a saw blade right at the edge of the wall, take out a little bit of floor, make sure you actually have some expansion space and the whole floor will relax back into that. So that's usually the case. This has been me reacting to online hardwood flooring posts. If you have any posts or anything you've seen that you want me to see, put that in the comments below. If you have any other reactions or questions about what I said, put that in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe.